Time to take care of Mr. Stomach.
Good morning.
Morning.
You are an incredible lover, Charlie Harper.
I believe if a gal's worth doing, she's worth doing well.
You're terrible.
Yes, I am. Hey, can your dog hold a video camera? How do you feel about casual sex?
I'm all for it. Just let me finish the dishes and then it comes through my hair.
Morning.
Morning.
What are you doing? There's the dog. That one's not dog. I will, as soon as I remember your name. Who was that? Oh, I just tapped a little strange last night.
Which one did you tap?
I'll give you a hint. I didn't do the dog people style.
It's walking like Zippy, but it's sure ain't talking like Zippy.
I suppose you do. Is he prone to having mental breakdowns?
Oh no. Eligible, certainly.
Whoa, look who's getting busy.
Just making out.
Yeah, we all know what happened.
Rise and do the pledge. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Gabby, would you call the roll, please?
Miss Hayner,
She messaged me, she's having computer issues.
okay, so we'll do excused. Mr. Almquist,
Here.
Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr. Moore,
Speaking.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Here.
Mr. Stoll,
Here.
Chairman Ring.
Here. Okay. We sent out the meeting minutes from January late this afternoon. I hope everybody has had a chance to read them. Is there someone that would like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I move we approve the minutes. I'll second it.
Okay, Gabby, can you call the roll?
We're also going to need to appoint a member in for Miss Hayner for purposes of voting.
Aha. Yeah, she's still having confused. Can we appoint John Moore? I believe John I saw on.
You did?
Can we appoint John to stand in for Anna?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. Okay, I would like to make a motion that we open the public hearing for Dan Wynn. This is the second public hearing for the subdivision.
All right,
Did I hear a second?
from Andrew, you hear a second?
Okay, Gabby, call the roll.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Here.
Mr.
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. For this public hearing, for those members of the public that would like to make a comment, since this is a second public hearing, I'd like to limit the comments to 3 minutes each. And so, Mr. Viteri, if you would like to just give a brief synopsis of your project there.
Sure, absolutely. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, great. So 240 South Road, Ruby, Mr. Wynn, I am representing him. We are proposing a 4-lot subdivision. We have 12.009 acres. We are looking to subdivide into 4 lots, lot 1 being 2.08 acres, lot 2 being 2.09 acres, lot 3 being 3.11, and lot 4 being 4.60. The only changes that we have from last month are the addition of 2 notes to the map. Note 1 being any disturbance to potential wetlands as mapped by the National Wetland Inventory shall not exceed 1/10 of an acre for improvements associated with the subdivision of land. Really quick, 1/10 of an acre is 4,356 square feet. We are not even looking to get anywhere near that number. The second one would be any changes to driveway locations must be approved by the town highway superintendent before drive construction. And I think that is pretty self-explanatory. And with that being said, basically from there, we are just trying to move forward here with what we're proposing. We have a common drive easement with a maintenance agreement for lots 1 and 2. We have approved curb cuts, and otherwise we have everything else meeting zoning law. There's nothing that we really have here other than the potential of us crossing a small portion of the federal wetland. But we are not proposing to disturb at this point really anything. But we do have up to 44,356 square feet, which we're not going to even come close to. But that is basically the only kicker with this. Otherwise, everything else is pretty straightforward.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And I'd just like to make record that a number of the folks from the town, including Warren, I believe the highway superintendent, several members of the planning board have gone out to meet with the owner and review the site. I believe that was within the last several weeks. So
along with the public too, my client has met with many members of the public, adjoiners and so on, over the last month or so. So yes, we've not only had board members, we've met with the highway superintendent, but we've also made it a point to try to reach out to the public. My client has met with many of the public adjoiners and members, and has also, been willing to answer any questions regarding their concerns.
okay, great. So with that, if you would like to speak, please state your name, where you reside, and we'll have a 3-minute comment period. Okay, with that then,
All right. We were trying to figure out how to get this on. I just want to say we appreciate it and thank you, Daniel, for meeting with us a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a constructive meeting. I think you sounded open to our concerns about privacy and sort of finding ways to move forward that are mutually beneficial. So I want to thank you for that, and I want to let everyone know that that was very helpful for us. I guess like moving forward, we'd just like to be kept in the loop as neighbors. Yeah, I mean that's where we stand. I think it was good to meet, and once again we just want to thank you for that, Daniel.
Okay, thank you, Ted.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
Gabby, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. David, I believe we have a draft resolution to read on this property. If you could read that into the town board, please.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Whereas the applicant, Daniel Nguyen, is seeking subdivision approval in accordance with section 16110 of the Town of Ulster Code, and whereas the applicant proposes to create 4 residential lots from an existing lot utilizing individual driveways accessing a town road, and whereas the proposed lots comply with the minimum lot size and dimension of the R60 zoning district, and whereas pursuant to section 161.9 of the Town Code, the proposed action is classified as a major subdivision and is subject to the approval of the Town of Ulster Planning Board. And whereas the applicant materials in support of the proposed action include consent to file form, an escrow agreement, a map of showing 4-lot subdivision prepared for Daniel Nguyen and Sherry Safier. Sorry about the name butchering. I probably as trustees of DA Nguyen LLC, prepared by Viteri Land Surveying PLLC. Also, application for preliminary plat approval, a seeker short form EAF, application review memo by David Church. Now, whereas referral is not required to the Ulster County Planning Board pursuant to the Ulster County Planning Board Land Use Referral Guide, and whereas the Planning Board considered the application materials submitted by the applicant, supported the proposed action along with comments of consultants via memo, which are included herein by reference. Whereas Chapter 161, Section 161.9, the proposed action is a major subdivision. The Planning Board held public hearings on January 12th, 2021, and today, February 9th, 2021, before taking final action. And whereas the Planning Board classifies the proposed action as seeker unlisted and makes a negative declaration upon review of the entire record, concluding that the action did not pose any large or significant potential adverse environmental impacts. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Planning Board has determined they've complied fully with the procedural requirements of Part 16617 of the seeker law. Further, be it resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants major subdivision approval as described above. I got a little extra couple words in there. Subject to conditions, limitations, and restrictions below, that the final plan filed with the Town of Ulster and the Ulster County Clerk shall include 2 notes to the satisfaction of the Planning Board Chair in consultation with the town consultants and staffs. These notes are the 2 notes that Michael referenced earlier that are outlined here. 2, the plat may be filed with the Office of the County Clerk after signed by the Chairman of the Planning Board. 3, no changes, erasures, modifications, or revisions shall be made to any plat after approval by the Planning Board and endorsed in writing on the plat. And 4, the final plat must be filed with the Office of the County Clerk within 62 days of the date of final plan is approved by the Planning Board. And 5, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on the table?
I'll make the motion to approve the resolution.
I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion? No discussion then? Gabby, can you call the roll?
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Larry's muted.
Hold it. Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Mr. Nguyen. Michael?
You guys. Dave, if I can ask you one question quick. I know that this is something that we did on the last one, but the note for the no changes in erasure, which is common practice, that's just something that we generally didn't do in the past. Do you want to give me some exact verbiage for that so I can add that on there? Because you stated it is to be noted on the map. I mean, I know it's in the resolution and I can take it from there, but in order to have that all in order, I think that note should be added on the map also. And it was to our previous major that we did while you were in your position there. So I just want to make sure that I get that all correct.
Yeah, no problem, Michael. I inherited that condition that's common to subdivisions. I don't think you need to put it on the map, though.
Okay, it was just, I thought it said that it had to be in writing on there. The last time around, we went through a major, with you in your position. I put it on there just to cover all bases. If it does not need to be on there, that's fine. It's obviously common knowledge. But if not, if you want that actually in writing on the map, if you want to just supply me with some verbiage, that's fine. I did put it on the previous major. Again, it is obviously common knowledge, but if you want it there, that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I'll defer to standing members. My interpretation of this that they've used before is that the endorsement is necessary if you make one of those things, a revision.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So that's fine. So we've covered all the notes that need to be in the note portion of the mapping.
Correct.
All right. Great. All right. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night. All right, the second item is urban precast. This is a simple resolution for a time extension of a site plan that was originally approved on 8/13, 2019. They would like a one-year extension from today. David, do you have any other additional information on urban precast?
Do not.
Okay. I believe this is just requires a simple vote.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make that motion, Larry Decker.
I'll second Andrew Stavropoulos.
All right. Is there any discussion on this?
When did you say the original?
8/13, August 13th, 2019.
Which means it expired August of 2020.
Correct.
So they'll have till August of 21. Okay. I have the plans here, so it should be done.
So for clarity for the chairman, Warren, it's from, the year extension is from the expiration date?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
1 year extension.
All right. If there's no more discussion, Gabby, can you call the roll on this?
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, JLM, this is a site plan to add the drive-through on Morton Boulevard to the building that houses TCBY or did house TCBY. They were before the workshop last week with some final changes to the parking, I believe. David, is there anything additional that you wanted to cover on JLM?
No, the members should have an amended site plan. It's based on those workshop discussions as well as a field visit that senior town staff had with the applicant that clarified how the circulation is going to work related to the addition or subtraction of parking spaces. So that's reflected in the amended site plan.
Okay. I believe you've prepared a draft resolution. Would you like to read that?
Whereas the applicant, JLM, seeks approval to amend the site plan for addition of a drive-through service window and associated parking and traffic circulation updates. And whereas the materials submitted in support of the proposed action include consent form signed, escrow agreement signed, complete application for a site plan amendment application, a short EAF, site plan modification, capital S, site plan modification, 2 sheets showing first existing conditions and second site plan modification dated 1/21 as prepared by Bernier and Larios PC. And whereas the applicant held a site visit for town senior staff from which the above referenced site plan modification was made from an earlier version submitted to the town planning board. And whereas the town of Ulster Planning Board retains the authority to approve the site plan amendment in accordance with town code. And whereas the proposed action is exempt from referral to the Ulster County Planning Board pursuant to their agreement with the town of Ulster. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, determined the proposed action is type 2 action and no additional action is required under seeker. Now therefore be resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants conditional site plan amendment approval for the proposed action subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. 1, compliance with all applicable zoning and building laws, rules, and regulations. 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 3, compliance with the site plan, design plans, and all details cited herein. 4, the town's consulting planner, and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances in project site development. And 5, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid.
Okay. I think we've spoken about this quite a bit over the last couple meetings. Does anyone have a motion?
Almquist, I'll make the motion for approval.
Hayner, I'll second that.
Did we read John Moore in for Anna? Gabby?
We did, but she could step back in place.
Okay, all right, perfect. Then can you call the roll on that?
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, great, thank you. Terrapin Towers. This predates me, and I apologize, I don't have a lot of information on the Terrapin Towers. The last I knew, it was a site plan amendment. David, do we have information on that?
Yes, sorry. So it's been in front of the board before. It's actually, to avoid confusion, there's a Terrapin Towers 1, which is a earlier project on a different parcel of town land with the same applicant. This is 2, which is going to be at the transfer station property. I guess that's due east of the Home Depot. And they're proposing 190 something proposed
Oh, that's right.
monopole tower with a pad and associated equipment, which will co-locate cellular phone uses with public utility uses, including radio use for the town of Ulster.
That's right. That was on the, it was on last month. Okay.
Right. So there's a site plan approval for the planning board. There's also a lease approval that the town board has to take because it's town-owned property. There's also a legal position on this associated with the necessity of seeking any area variances as well as the special use permit. There's this provision in the town code used in normal circumstances where if a building exceeds the maximum height, that can be granted an exception as long as it doesn't exceed the setback. However, I don't know if Jason's on, but he can explain that there's a legal exception based on precedent and some memorandum where the approvals in this case is purely in the hands of site plan approval for the planning board. Additionally, there's substantial documentation. They did a fuller environmental assessment of visual impact. They public noticed and did a methodology called a balloon test. Where on a particular day last fall, they floated a balloon at the height of the tower, and then did an analysis of where that balloon could be seen from, and did a computer generation model of how that relates to potential visual impact, to various parks and public facilities. So I think there's a comfort level that they fully covered the one primary issue. What we did talk about in the January meeting was this question of the engineered fall zone for the tower, which would, if it were to literally tip over, would fall outside of the property onto the Home Depot lot potentially, or the vacant lot just north and west of Home Depot. However, you have a second memorandum that Gabby, I think, is shared with the full board from an engineer that elaborates on how monopoles are structured, and they're designed to collapse internally, not tip over. So that's been addressed. The question is to the satisfaction of the planning board.
Yeah, I think he discussed that last month. So the outstanding issues, David, then are,
Well, you have the county came back with a binding comment on required referral to the county planning board. Frank is your representative member, I believe, who might be able to elaborate, although I don't think resident members have to recuse themselves from voting on these things, but at the county planning board level, not at the town board level. But the binding comment, and I'll summarize, but everyone's seen it, was that the county wanted additional analysis on need on alternative site locations, as well as on a justification for the height. Now you can, Jason, I see is on. I'll do the paralegal explanation. With a binding comment from the county, you have a choice of following it or overriding it. If you want to override it, you have to do that with a majority plus one vote of the board.
okay,
You do, if you choose to override it, I'll paraphrase the statute, but again, Jason's on, so he can explain. You do have to put in basically a final report of what you did to the county, which I can certainly help write up if you choose to go that route. I don't know, Jason, if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, I think David identified the issues that are before the board. I think most of you are aware, but this is the second cell phone tower that is being proposed to be constructed on town property. We had another application by the same applicant about a year ago for a tower at the town highway department. So there is a need, as you are all aware, to have better mobile phone connections in this area. It's a matter of public safety. And as you know, as David has stated, the town will be benefiting from this by reserving the very top portion of the tower for municipal use, police, highway, local fire companies. So the town will benefit from that. And of course, all the town residents and people who work in the town will benefit from the increased cell phone connections in this area. So, I think the county's comments are always well-reasoned, but I think that if the board feels appropriate, there is enough legal and documentation to support an override. If the applicant is on, I think maybe the applicant could talk about any other issues that would be helpful.
Yes, thank you, Jason, members of the board, Mr. Chairman, Brett Begellen for Tarpon Towers. I think David did a great job summarizing some of the issues or some of the comments from the January meeting. There were, I think, I can summarize them in 4 comments from that meeting. And I believe that Warren weighed in on a couple of things he wanted to see clarified on the drawings. Number 1 is we changed the pad that we'll install for the town to an 8x8 pad instead of a 4x4. There was a question about whether Verizon was going to have a generator. They are not, but there is a generator for T-Mobile for backup power. We amended sheet 5C to show the 4-gang meter center, which means 4-meter cans, which will ensure that those are installed when we do the construction. And on the tower fall zone, as David pointed out, there were some questions from the board about the setback to the west property line, which we had submitted an engineer's letter that the first engineer's letter we submitted was the design was not sufficient to avoid that lot line or crossing that lot line in the event of a catastrophic failure. We went back, we amended that to 47-foot catastrophic failure zone. And then we actually moved the tower into the parcel still in the same compound, but we moved it so the setback is 50 feet from the property line. So, I mean, it's a matter of a foot or two here and there, but on sheet SB1, you'll see that note that that's now 50. And in conjunction with the fall zone letter, we've ensured clearance to the west property line. And that was how we addressed the comments from the board and specifically from the building inspector. We did prepare a site justification memo. That was unfortunately something I did late today, which I believe hit on all the things that the board's attorney mentioned in terms of the benefits to the town, the selection of the parcel itself, and its overriding benefits versus other privately owned parcels in the area that might be similarly situated. But overall, you know, we're pleased to be able to work with the town again after our success on the highway department property to provide both a financial and a communications location benefit to the folks in town and to the town departments. I'm happy to take any other questions if there are any.
Brett, I've got two questions. You say there's 4 meters. Does that mean you can have 4 tenants on this tower?
That's correct.
And you currently have 2, T-Mobile and Verizon.
Yep, and the town. So we currently have 3. That would leave 1 spare for another entity.
And T-Mobile will have a generator. Verizon might. Could you see a situation where there would be 4 generators there?
I don't. I mean, I think that if that were to be the case, then we certainly have the space to accommodate individual generators. But with that expense, as I think we found out on the site at the highway department, with Verizon electing at the end of the day not to install a generator, we wanted to be specific here as to the direct feedback we had obtained from the carriers and you know, asking for that specifically. If they don't ask for it now, they're going to have to come back in and obviously apply for the necessary permits for that with the town if that's a choice they make in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions from the board for Mr. Buglin?
No, I just want to say thank you. I got the updated plans. Everything was addressed. And I did actually talk to the installers at the highway when they were installing it. They said Verizon is backing away from generators and going pretty much strictly battery on all their new installs.
That's what I had understood as well, Inspector, just because of some of the improved battery technology and the like in terms of time that they can get out of those. So that might be very well the trend in the future.
Generators are high maintenance.
That's for sure.
All right, if there's no more questions, David, do we have a draft resolution on this one?
We do. Jason, did you have edits or?
I did not get a chance to fully evaluate that resolution,
Okay.
but perhaps we could work on that tomorrow.
Do you want me to, Chairman, do you want me to read the draft or? It hasn't been shared. We haven't.
Jason, what's the protocol here if we're going to change the resolution after the fact?
We can make minor revisions that are commensurate with discussions that this board is having tonight if it approves the resolution. I would know we would need 2 motions. One is to override the county comments, county modifications, and then there would be a motion to adopt the resolution by our town planner.
Yep. Okay. With that then, David, can you read the resolution?
Okay, I have two questions. First for Brett. The amended map set, Brett, can you tell me the date?
The amended plans? Hold on a
Yes,
second. Yeah, I think it was, oh my gosh, my eyes.
either what you put on it or what the
119, 2021.
2021, okay.
Yeah.
Second, an open question probably to the chairman or Jason. Brett's firm has prepared the site justification letter. We could do, but we don't have it, correct? So we could either reference it, which would be hard because the board hasn't seen it, or we could use it as part of the record if the board chooses to override of reporting back to the county. Right now, I don't reference it.
Do we have a
David,
copy of it right now?
Oh, I'm sorry. I sent it in late to
Gabby.
Gabby, and that was my mistake. So I don't know if I can, I'm happy to handle it however you want to. If you want, it would be the date of today would be the submittal date.
Jason, what do you think?
It should be as referenced as part of the record.
Do we want Mr. Buglin to read the letter? Is it short enough to read?
No, it's
Okay.
lengthy. Let me see if you want me to email it. Maybe I can email it to David.
Well, the challenge would be the board members have to read it and they're in the middle
Oh,
of the
yeah,
meeting.
yeah.
Well, the alternative, Jason, is that we put it into the record if and when we override. As part of the final report.
As I understand it, it's been emailed to Gabby.
Yeah.
Is that right?
It must have been done
Yes.
after I left for work because I haven't seen it yet, but I'll probably see it tomorrow
Okay.
morning.
So any correspondence that was sent to Gabby today is part of the record for this file and can be relied upon in any motion or resolution that this board takes.
So if I'm going to refer it in the resolution, I just need a title, Brett, if you've got that.
Yeah,
Wait, so we're gonna make a motion on something that none of us have seen?
That's the discussion, Anna.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I'm sorry. If it was after work hours, it's not a motion that's for tonight's meeting.
Can Brett explain to us the contents of that letter?
Yeah, of course. It's a site selection summary, and it has 4 points in it that are elaborated on that set this site or this property apart from other possible choices of where this tower could be located. The reasons for choosing this property are, number one, use by and financial benefit to the town of Ulster, compatibility of use with the existing uses on the property now, the minimal environmental disturbance required to develop the project in its location at the transfer station, and the proximity of existing utilities that are needed by the site to the site, eliminating environmental disturbance as well. So those are the 4 distinguishing characteristics that we cited as making this particular property, the transfer station, the best choice in the area for this facility.
And as I understand it, that was one of the main concerns the county had in their required modifications, was the suitability of this site as opposed to other properties.
Yeah, so we sent it in at 4:15 today. And I told Gabby it was at the ultra last minute, and I apologize, but I felt it was important that we get it into the record for purposes of the board's evaluation and decision making.
Well, this is Dave again, Dave Church. So with that explanation, which is documented, but the board hasn't seen, Again, I'll defer to the chair or the attorney. There could be a case made that meets the county comment or not. And an override isn't necessary, but unfortunately, the board hasn't been able to read the fuller memo. They rely on Brett's summary of that.
What do the other board members feel on this issue?
I mean, this is Andrew. I don't mind taking a look at it tomorrow. If anybody else wanted to hold off, and we can review it when we receive it tomorrow. I don't know if Brett wants to share his workspace, and then maybe we can read it, or in order just to move things along. I don't mind taking a look at it first thing in the morning and kind of affirming an override if we could do that by email. I don't know if we've done that in the past.
You know, my suggestion is if Brett could share his screen so you can look at it right now. I know the town board was looking to approve the lease at its next meeting next week. So, you know, I think if we could review this tonight, that would be ideal.
I'd like to help the applicant too, you know, so if that's okay with everybody, I'd like to kind of resolve this tonight too.
Okay, why don't we do that?
Okay. Let me see, give me a second here.
I was at 4:15 today.
That's my understanding, Anna.
I just don't get it. I mean, why now we have to rush and look at more paperwork? I looked at paperwork all day today because I didn't get it till today. And now I have to worry about this at the 11th hour. If it was something that was known for the next town board meeting, then why is it coming to us at 4:15 today when we know the business hours end at 4 o'clock?
I don't want to create any problems for the board with this.
I just want to be able to review it. That's all. That's all. I'm just saying, I just would like to review it because I just feel like I'm being put on the, you know.
Mr. Chairman, I mean, could we maybe have a?
I'm fine with doing it like tomorrow morning or something. I'm fine with that. But like doing it like at this moment when we have a huge agenda, seems kind of absurd. I'm sorry.
Would it be possible to have a special meeting and maybe in a week? Would that work? I hate to bring that up, but since we are Zooming these meetings, is that possible?
I have no problem with that. I guess the question that I would ask is, would any of the comments in this document change how we view this project? And for me, I don't believe so. I think that the document just substantiates some comments and questions that the county has, as opposed to questions that the town has.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm comfortable either way. I'd like to see this to be able to be reviewed and voted on by the board for the approval of the lease next week. I think that's part of what our job is to do as planning board. Sometimes we don't get material in a timely manner, but I think that's part of the job that we have.
Yeah, I think the intention, and obviously I apologize for causing the problem, but the intention was merely to add to the add to what we thought was the testimony in the prior meeting and the like, in terms of the use of the site and its superiority in terms of a choice versus other private owned properties in the area. So that was the reason for putting this together, was merely to, buttress or add support to that testimony through the project summary we submitted with the original, with the application itself. It was merely to add, to backstop that explanation where we went over some of the same items and benefits that this site had to it in the beginning. So that was the only reason for the memo that I prepared and submitted today.
Frank or Larry, do you guys have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I would like to accommodate anybody, but I have the tendency to agree with Anna.
Okay.
We have supposedly rules the last minute. You can submit your proposal to the planning board. Is we have a cutoff. We apparently don't have a cutoff on this one. We've gotten additional information. I have no problem in holding a special meeting to accommodate, and we've got Monday and Wednesday, we could do it and still accommodate everybody and make it a win-win. In the meantime, we should clarify, do we need to override with an overriding vote? Because that might make the difference too. But I'd like to see the documentation too. And I'm not questioning anybody's veracity, but good business is good business. And I think we should address that and see what we're voting on. So I kind of like the idea with a special meeting. I have no problem with that. My opinion. Thank you.
Thank you.
There was a note from Supervisor Quigley the day after the planning board meeting, so that would have been probably last Thursday. I was looking through my trash file and my file. I cannot find it. I know Dave was copied on it, and maybe Jason, I don't recall, but it basically spelled out his position or the town board's position on the tower, which satisfied, to my mind, everything the county was looking for.
So then there would not be a need to override.
That's right. It's definitely covered an override.
So we need only three votes. Thank you, Frank.
Look, I want to make sure everybody on the board is comfortable with, how we conduct the business. So with that, Gabby, can we get a special meeting on the calendar for Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday next week?
Yes, I'll reach out to everybody and see what day works best for the majority of you, or at least to get the super majority.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Chairman, it's Dave again. So we just need to make sure that memo from Brett that came in late today gets circulated promptly.
Yeah, Gabby's going to send it around tomorrow morning.
And Jason and I will polish a resolution, which
Okay.
includes reference to that. Then the board can decide if an override's necessary or not.
Yeah, I'll send it when I get it in the morning to everybody.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great, thank you.
All right, thanks, Brett.
Thanks, board members, appreciate it.
Okay.
Right.
We have new business, Wisani Mobility. This is for a site plan for a new business over on Old Sawkill Road. It's in a R30 zoning district that has some already pre-existing, pre-existing non-conforming use, Jason, in that area for commercial usage?
Correct.
Yep. So they will need to go through the zoning board for a use variance on this. And it looks like there's some minor changes to the commercial building. David, do you want to talk about what we need here?
Well, this is very straightforward and by all appearances of desirable use and a quality business. So previously, I know the planning board has taken a position in support of or not a recommendation to the zoning board and or the town board for a zoning change on this matter. So I don't know at this point if the applicant's aware of what the better option is. But the board, Mr. Chairman, could take a position to support recommendation to the zoning board for a use variance.
Yeah, we're not changing the zoning. We're just recommending that he request a variance on the zoning.
Well, there's always the alternative of get the zoning changed.
They actually are being seen before the zoning board tomorrow night.
Okay. So then the question, Mr. Chairman, is whether you want a simple resolution from the planning board if you're willing to support that submission.
What does the rest of the board think on this? I've taken a look at the preliminary material on the construction of the way the building is constructed. My understanding is there's, minor changes to the building. And it's a reuse of, I believe it's currently vacant space now.
Yeah, I'd say we just go ahead with the simple resolution. It doesn't seem like a major impact to the existing site.
I agree.
Okay. Then what do we need to do for the simple resolution? Do you have that prepared, David?
No, I think you could just do a resolution that the planning board supports the application from Pasami Mobility to the zoning board for a use variance with the understanding that it needs to return to the planning board for site plan approval.
Okay. So on that simple resolution, then, is there any additional discussion? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the simple resolution?
I'll make that.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Can you call the roll, Gabby?
Hayner, Ms. Hayner,
You're on mute, Anna.
I'll circle back. Mr. Almquist,
Yes,
Mr. Decker,
Yes,
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring,
Yes.
Ms. Hayner.
I think she's having some audio issues.
I'm not able to unmute her either. It's not letting me. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I had a internet problem. I'm here. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay. The next piece of business is Five Guys. And this is a site plan amendment for the facade renovation. We're here to discuss and confirm that there's no exterior lighting changes or no freestanding signage. This is seeker type 2 for no further action. It's not referable to the town board or the Ulster County Planning Board. So is the applicant here?
I believe he is. He may be muted.
And who is the applicant?
Ken Nicastro.
I'm here. Hello, everyone.
Hi,
How are you?
good, thank you. Can you confirm there's no exterior lighting changes or freestanding signage changes?
Same signs are remaining. Exactly what's there now.
Okay. Does the board have any questions
I was just
for
curious,
Mr. DeCastro?
I'm curious as to what's going to be done to the facade of the building. I haven't seen any drawings.
Warren has looked at the drawings. Well, we're changing the windows. That was the old eyeglass store. And with their rounded windows, everything is going to be squared out. And then a brick facades going up in the front.
This was supposed to be sent out over a week ago. I received it. So I don't know how it didn't get forwarded.
I have it.
Okay, good.
I'm sharing my screen so you guys can see it.
Yep.
So it does look like the signage looks a little bit different. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is the new Five Guys signage. Monument sign.
I think the issue raised is the freestanding sign. If there's a change, it has to conform with the corridor plan. But the applicant's been on record that the freestanding sign isn't changing.
The letters are, the sign itself is not going to change. They're changing the lettering to be more compliant with the way you're seeing it in that new drawing with the facade. I could forward to you guys. I do have the sign company working on the design. Actually, I have it. I can send it to you.
That's just on the sign on the building though, correct?
The sign on the building will be the new Five Guys style, and that style will be the same that's on the monument sign, which is that 16-foot sign facing the.
Okay, so you're going to update the monument signage then?
Yes.
Okay. And Warren, you say that needs to come, is the current signage, do they have a variance for the current signage in terms of size and width and height and so on?
They don't need it. It conforms to the corridor and the square footage and heights.
Great. Okay.
So just changing the lettering is fine. They're not going to change the actual base of it or the planter around it.
And then
They're
changing on the face of the building is fine as well. As long as it meets.
They're reducing the sign size.
Yeah. Okay.
Color palettes look nice. It looks good.
I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
All right.
Definitely more appealing.
All right. David, I believe we have a draft resolution. Do you want to read that?
Correct. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Whereas the applicant Five Guys seeks approval to amend site plan for facade upgrades and interior upgrades, and whereas the materials submitted in support of the proposed action include consent form signed, escrow agreement signed, complete applications for site plan amendment, short EAF, site plan titled Five Guys Burgers Building Refresh, store number 339, showing existing conditions and site plan modification, plus 2 sheets showing proposed storefront elevations as prepared by Thomas J. Misick Architect LLC and PJH Design Group Incorporated. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board retains authority to approve the site plan amendment in accordance with the town code, and whereas the proposed action is exempt from referral to the Ulster County Planning Board pursuant to the referral agreement with the Town of Ulster, and whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, determined the proposed action is type 2 action and no additional action is required under SEEK. Now therefore be resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants conditional site plan approval for the proposed action subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. Compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules, regulations. 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 3, compliance with site plan, design plans, and all details as cited herein. 4, compliance with the town's Route 9W corridor enhancement plan. 5, the town's consulting planner and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances in project development. And 6, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid.
Okay. Do we have a motion on the table?
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Is there any discussion? Gabby, can you call the roll on this?
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. On to the Farm Bridge on Enterprise Drive. Farm Bridge is a site plan relocation expansion of food production facility. The existing operation is relocating within Tech City complex. The town views this as a very positive project in that we'd like to keep this business in the town of Ulster as opposed to going someplace else. Is there discussion on this one?
Do you have any idea what their schedule is?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Stanislav, Tim Highland from the Farm Bridge can explain the urgency of the schedule and what the schedule is. And of course, the architect and myself are here to answer any other technical questions you might have.
Yeah, can you talk about the schedule?
Has to unmute.
So we're trying to get into this location as quickly as possible. There's some, the location itself has to go to, the building itself has to get into surplus. And there's certain parameters with the county in terms of getting to us, for us to sign a lease. But in a nutshell, we're hoping we can start construction in, I think it's late in April or May, and be able to get in by October 31st. That's what we're crossing our fingers on.
Okay, thank you.
That sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
David, the next steps are to initiate seeker, and are there other items that we need to do?
Well, because of the size, it's, the town board has final approval of the site plan. So at this point, to get the process rolling, because of the planning board advisory role, town board final approval, coupled with the required referral to the county planning board, which is that awkward timing of they meet just a few days before this board's regular monthly meeting. The action today could be that by simple resolution, Mr. Chairman, the planning board could recommend to the town board that they initiate seeker at their next meeting and refer the application submitted to the Ulster County Planning Board. And that could get it into a March approval schedule.
Dennis,
Yes, sir.
are you going to be handling the engineering end of this?
Yes. Well, the site, I'm having audio problems. I'm sorry. I don't know if it's on your end, but
I think it's because you're connected to your phone and your computer for voice.
yeah, see if I can fix that.
And now we can't hear him at all.
Got on mute.
There you go.
There's almost no site work here except for constructing.
There
of
you
a
go.
Ramp down to the new loading area. The site plan set, which I can share screen with you if you need. The county was very concerned about, since they're the landlord, about tractor trailer movement being orderly and workable in the site. And that facilitated the need to put about a 10,000 square foot addition on the west side of building 201 for shipping and receiving, and to accommodate the tractor trailer movements without, that would work within the confines of the current site with minimal disturbance. So there's really only about a 4/10 of an acre of disturbance associated with the project. A little taking out some trees and grass area there on the west side of building 201 and putting that ramp, which will be recessed, and then replacing landscaping in that area. Very little site work. Water and sewer. Water is already furnished to the building by the city of Kingston Water Department. And sewer, any work on the sewer system would be internal plumbing that could be reviewed at the time of building permit and building plan issuance. So it's pretty straightforward.
I had an extensive conversation with Vinny today. Currently, all that sewer runs through the sewage treatment plant, the defunct sewage treatment plant, and then runs back. So he has a concern because now we're going to be relocating. Where's the grease trap? You know, all of this infrastructure. Where is it going to go? Where's it going to discharge?
It'll be just like it currently does. As you know, the farm bridge is currently across the street. They have an exterior grease trap. In this case, the grease interceptor would have to be internal because all the plumbing runs northerly through the three buildings there, and does get to the same point where the wastewater runs from the east campus. That's all correct. It is bypass the old plant, but it bypasses it to the north of building 203. We can go over that with Vinny, but when the farm bridge first went in, the biggest concern the town had was of the grease interceptor because of the nature of the business, fats, oils, and greases. So that'll be addressed in the same way, except it'll be addressed internally in this case with a mechanical system instead of a gravity grease trap, which was external 10 or 12 years ago when I think the farm bridge first located at Tech City.
It's a 3,000 gallon plus. That's what he had the concern about. Because you try to put a 3,000 gallon tank, it's got to go outside. So now it goes outside, then you got to pump it back inside. So yeah, if you could follow up with Vinny on what your plan is so that he's happy, then I'm happy.
Yeah, that will be, as I said, the difference, Warren, will be that will be a function of interior plumbing and actually the mechanical grease interceptors actually are, I believe, preferred by Vinny and were preferred by Corey, his predecessor. So that's how that would be. It'll be addressed in the plan set for sure, but it won't be a site plan element. It'll be a building plumbing plan element that we're happy to have him sign off on as well as you as you'll be signing off on the building plan set.
I'll tell you now, he's not going to sign off on site plan until he sees it. So.
Okay.
That is all.
All right, any other questions? So David, again, the simple resolution is, can you repeat that?
Yes, first, before I forget, so the issue Warren talked about, we'll have to get Vinnie's review on the sewage treatment in hand well in advance of the March meeting if we're going to stick to that schedule. Because as you said, Mr. Chairman, you want the water, sewer, or highway superintendent comments received in advance of any decision.
Absolutely.
So if we can see that happens by sometime in late this month. So the proposal is by resolution, the planning board would recommend to the town board to initiate seeker and to refer this application to the Ulster County Planning Board for review and comment. Noting I'll be working with Jason to draft that more specific resolution for the town board to do those two things.
Okay.
I will also, out of curiosity from Jason, since just keeping it alert, I guess here is it's an interesting dynamic that the referring it to the county for a use that's going to be on county land.
Okay.
I think Dennis Doyle's on the, I see he's a participant. I don't know if he wanted to say anything about that.
So we've got a simple resolution by vote to refer for recommend to the town board. They initiate seeker and refer this application to the county planning board, which will be detailed in a town board resolution that Jason and that the town attorney and town planner will prepare for the town board.
I would like to make that motion.
I'll second. This is Andrew.
Is there any discussion? Can you call the roll, Gabby?
Ms. Hayner,
She's muted again.
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes. All right, thank you, Dennis.
So Chairman, so just to accentuate, so for this March approval match to the April construction start work, we're going to have to get that county review promptly. So Frank, if you can attend to making sure, because we only have a few days between that board meeting and this board meeting, they can receive that and not have a similar problem where this board's not getting this till the day or the day before a meeting.
I mean, if I can get everything in at the absolute latest on the 19th, because the cutoff's actually the Wednesday before, it could be on March's agenda, but I'll need everything in hand.
This is Dennis Doyle. We don't have a problem taking this late, so we'll take it as late as you can get it to us before the meeting.
Thank you, Dennis.
Yeah.
Dennis, do you have all the documents that were submitted to the town, correct?
We do. We've gotten them from you. We've reviewed them. We've looked at them. So there's no surprises coming in here with respect to this. So we've talked to the proposed lease to Jim Highland about this. We've worked out where the locations for the loading docks would go. So the county's very comfortable, both from a planning department standpoint and from the overall county standpoint on the project.
All right, thank you, Dennis. All right, the next item of business is the Industrial Brewing Company. This is a site plan to, I guess the best way to describe this is to repurpose and complete the construction on the two geodesic domes down by Potter Brothers along the 28 corridor. This is a reuse from the original intended use. They will need some permits from both the New York State DOT and Ulster County DPW to utilize some of the property that borders this site for, according to the drawings, it looks like parking. The town board has final approval, and I believe that this also needs to initiate seeker. So I believe this, David, is a simple resolution, same as the prior one.
Correct. You can make a recommendation to the town board who has the final approval of site plan to initiate seeker and to refer the action to the county planning board, considering its proximity to Route 28. It's referable. The key question is, are you comfortable doing that without knowing the status of those two use permits? I think the New York State DOT one in particular, he looks to be fairly essential to meet the parking requirements.
Yeah, it seems to me that that's a lengthy process. I don't know, but I would think that getting that permit is a fairly lengthy process. The negotiation and the contracting and so on.
Yes, well, potentially. I mean, he's provided documentation that he's applied for both. I don't know what that translates into getting a decision on both.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Jeff O'Neill, the managing partner of Industrial Arts Brewing Company. Yes, I have made application to the DOT for a use permit on both of those, or all three of those parcels. And I understand that it's under review. I've been in touch with, I believe her name is Kathy Busa from the Kingston office. And anecdotally, I understand that it can take a few months. But you can see, if you look at the drawing, it is 6 parking spaces that would be in question there, but also our sign is in the green zone, closer out. Our proposed sign, rather, is out in the green zone close to Route 28.
So the sign would be the closest to the Forest Hill Drive and Route 28 land.
Correct. Closest to the corner.
And this was a project that was started maybe 6 or 7 years ago, I believe.
Correct.
Jeff, it's Dave Church. Since we have, by convenience, the county planner on, could you just summarize what you're looking for from Ulster County Department of Public Works?
Sorry, are you asking me or are you asking the planner?
No, I'm asking you, Jeff.
So we are specifically with regard to the usage of the land?
Correct.
Okay, so you'll see in the green, sorry, Gabby, go ahead. In the green sliver there, you can see a proposed monument sign. Is that clear to you guys?
Yep.
Yeah, it's in the lower corner.
And actually just
Right.
just next to that on the submission drawing is a mock-up of the sign itself, which is now under that yellow CAD. There you go. So that's a proposed standing sign on posts to go in that location. And then directly above on the drawing are six new parking spaces that would be subsequent to approval for that permitted usage of that space. But what we did was superimpose, I think 23 new spaces in total over a permitted 17 that were there. So if it came down to moving, for the sake of moving the project along, we could sacrifice these 6 spaces until we had the permission from DOT. Which of course would compromise our occupancy, proposed occupancy.
There are 2 buildings there. Are both of them for eating, or is one of them a kitchen as well?
No, there won't be a kitchen per se. We will have a short menu of prepared foods that are ready, that we work with a caterer for at our other 2 locations. And our proposed usage for the indoor space is to use the westerly dome as a seating area, year-round or seasonally, a winter beer garden indoors, and the eastern dome as our bar serving and retail beer to go area. So you'll see there we have indicated that we're going to propose to the building department to have 54 seats in the western dome, and then 16 on the eastern dome.
And this is all with a well and septic on the property?
Correct. 2 wells and 1 septic.
Okay. And David, what's the risk of making a simple resolution without knowing the timeline on the DOT or DPW approvals for use on the property?
Well, the devil's advocate challenge with that would be if subsequent weeks or months after you do start action or even make an approval, either of those agencies comes back with a disapproval or some modification requirement that merely kicks it back to a site plan amendment. So some of your peer boards would like to see these outside permits further resolved, or at least get some indication of a positive view of it, that maybe procedurals left before finalizing any site plan. But there may be no harm in initiating the process at this point, so we can at least get it in front of the county planning board.
And the biggest issue is are those 6 parking spots. That's the biggest issue.
Well, and the sign, I guess the sign, which I suppose could be relocated if the county says no.
Well, they can put the sign on the building or some other place, right?
Sure. Our alternate version would be to eliminate those 6 spaces and move the sign inside of our own property near those 4 spaces that are added in the southeast corner.
Sure. What do the other board members think? Any questions or comments?
Can we get PDFs of these drawings, Gabby?
They should be included in the Dropbox. Everything I'm showing is in that Dropbox I sent out.
Wonderful.
So, Mr. Chairman, I guess with the option of relocating the sign and the question of potentially losing up to 6 spaces, worst case scenario, neither seem to be potentially fatal flaws. I think it could still be recommended that we get the process started. So at a minimum, we can at least get the feedback from the county planning board.
Yeah, I would like to make that motion to recommend to initiate seeker and refer to the Ulster County Planning Board.
I'll second that.
Any discussion on this? Gabby, can you call the roll?
Ms. Hayner?
Yes.
Mr. Almquist?
Yes.
Mr. Decker?
Yes.
Mr. Stavropoulos?
Yes.
Chairman Ring?
Yes. All right, thank you.
Thanks all.
All right, the last piece of business for tonight, Gabby, I think is Burlington Factory. I know there were a number of agendas that came out. Is this the last one?
Yes, that's the last one on our agenda for tonight.
Okay. David, can you talk through this a little bit? Because I think it's more than interior and facade changes, right?
Correct. There's a proposed new compactor with a pod and equipment and a masonry wall in the rear of the building. It's going to be a part of the proposal. So this is a former retail location that's going to be reused and repurposed for a new retail location. With that, there's facade, interior renovations, facade improvements, and the addition of a different compactor, assume paper compactors system in the rear of the building.
So this is to relocate Burlington factory where Barnes and Noble is today.
Correct. So we do need an affirmation from the applicant that there, if there's any changes to exterior lighting, freestanding or monument signs, I assume they're going to put their name on the front, and that there's, if water and sewer service equipment's not changing, and if it is.
This is James Baglioli. I'm the attorney for Benderson on this project. Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yep.
Oh, because I
He
hear
else is
someone.
talking, Jason. Just a second.
And I asked everybody to mute if you're not speaking.
I muted
Thank
him.
you.
I muted him, Gabby. So go ahead.
This is James Baglioli. I'm an attorney for Benderson Development, 570 Delaware Avenue, Buffalo, New York. It is a relatively simple change. We are subbing in Burlington where the Barnes and Noble is. I did submit a color drawing of the elevation. It requires filling in a couple of glass bays to match the building, and then some paint and ephes work on the front to allow for the Burlington sign and their look. And then on the back, there is the addition of a compactor. I can share my screen if you like, but we did submit a drawing. We are proposing a screen wall to match the existing screen wall that screens the loading dock, so the compactor is not visible from behind the building. The screen wall will match the color of the building and be painted to match. So that's basically, there's no changing exterior lighting. There's no changing in water and sewer. We're just subbing in a new tenant for what was there in the exact same space.
Okay. Does the board have any questions?
This is Andrew. I'm good with everything. Seems straightforward.
Yep.
So right today, go back, Gabby, to that. So you're filling in the windows that were essentially where Starbucks and the magazine rack was.
Yeah, that's correct. To make it part of the Burlington space.
Okay.
James, can you just zoom in on the site plan for the compactor so the board can see it?
I can, if I can share my screen, I have my my
Yep.
plan
Yeah.
up. So let me do that.
You can go ahead.
Thank you. So there's the elevation. This is the site plan. This is the existing loading dock. This is the new compactor area. And this is the new wall, 20 feet, completely screens the compactor area. And then we did an elevation, it just may take a load up. This is the back of the building. You can see the old wall that screens the dock back there, and the new proposed wall that will screen the compactor right in front of it. So the compactor is actually tucked in between the two walls. It'll match the back of the building, and the compactor won't be visible.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? David, I think we have prepared a draft resolution. Can you read that into the record, please?
Whereas the applicant Benderson Development Corporation LLC, AKA Burlington, seeks approval to amend site plan for facade upgrades, interior upgrades, and addition of a rear compactor pad with screen wall and equipment to reuse a former retail building for a new retail use. And whereas the material submitted in support of the proposed action includes consent form signed, escrow agreement signed, complete application for site plan amendment, short EAF, site plan consisting of 4 sheets, consisting of drawing C 4.0, detailed site plan prepared by James Allen Rumsey Architect dated 1/28/2020, I'm sorry, that's 2021. 1/28/2021, as well as A 2.0 enlarged plans, A 5.0 exterior elevations, and A 5.1 Burlington enlarged elevation and floor plan prepared by Michael Chrislip Architect dated 1/29/21. And whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board retains authority to approve the site plan amendment in accordance with the town code, and whereas the proposed action is exempt from referral to the Ulster County Planning Board pursuant to their agreement with the Town of Ulster, and whereas the Town of Ulster Planning Board, upon review of the entire record, determined the proposed action is type 2 action and no additional action is required under seeker. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town of Ulster Planning Board hereby grants conditional site plan approval, amendment approval for the proposed action subject to the conditions, limitations, and restrictions set forth below. 1, compliance with applicable zoning and building laws, rules, and regulations. 2, compliance with all representations made by the applicant. 3, compliance with the site plan, design plans, and all details cited herein. 4, compliance with the town's US Route 9W corridor enhancement plan. 5, the town's planning consulting planner and building inspector are hereby authorized to approve minor site plan changes of ministerial nature which may arise due to unforeseen circumstances and project site development. And 6, all fees, including consultant fees, shall be paid.
Thank you, David. Do we have a motion?
Almquist, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Gabby, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Hayner,
Yes.
Mr. Almquist,
Yes.
Mr. Decker,
Oh,
one more time, Mr.
I
Decker.
can't unmute. Like,
You're muted now.
I know.
Mr. Stavropoulos,
Yes.
Chairman Ring.
Yes.
Mr. Decker, that was a yes for you.
Say that again. Hold on.
We can hear you. You got to take yourself off mute, Larry. Larry, do you hear us? There you go.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, good. I'm off. Yes,
Okay, thank you.
All right.
finally.
That's all right.
What was your time frame on this project?
I believe we're starting it very shortly. As soon as we, after this approval, we'll apply for the building permits, and as soon as we can get going, we'll get going on it.
For occupancy before the holidays?
Next time, yes, before
Okay.
the holidays.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, they've already applied. I'm 90% through the review.
All right. They're ahead of me, so that's good to hear.
I thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Is there any discussion among the board on any topics at all?
Yeah, I think we, this is Andrew. I think we got to get, there's been a lot of talk of getting the materials in a timely fashion. I want to help the applicants as much as we can. So I agree, we got to take these things late sometimes, but today was a rough day. I mean, this was the worst ever that I've seen. You know, I work full time, as do many, and I can't go through the documentation if I'm working and then, you know, shovel snow and then I get like a little bit of time to go through things. So I think we want to look professional, but we have to get these things timely.
Yeah, so Andrew, what I've been
I
doing.
agree with that 100%. Today was a rough day, and I feel like last month wasn't much better, but that's just my opinion.
Well, the new proposal is to have the minutes out the following week.
It's
And
not,
we're also
it's
gonna
not
have,
even just the minutes. It's even after, you know, it's the resolutions. The resolutions can't come out the day of the meeting.
Yeah,
There
so
are-
what,
It's not
there
just the minutes, it's not just the agenda, it's all of the paperwork.
yep, so
There
this is
are
what,
several
this is what
moving
I'm
parts.
working towards. Warren, hang on. This is what I'm working towards. So we have the planning workshops the week prior on Wednesday, the week prior. And I would like all of the material that goes to the planning meeting the next week available after the workshop is complete. So on that following Thursday, all the material, the agenda will be set. The material should be available. That gives about approximately 5 to 6 days to review the material and the agenda being set. So that's what I've been talking with Gabby and Warren on to get that all sorted out. So we won't have this problem in the future.
That would be great, because that's how it's been in the past. So this,
Yep.
at the last minute stuff doesn't work for the people that work full time. I mean,
I
today was
understand.
a snow day for me, so I was home, but at the same time, if I'm home, that means I'm doing home things because I am a wife and a mother. So it's not that easy to just, drop everything I'm doing and read 5 hours worth of work.
Fair enough. But
I mean, Jeff, we do want to help the applicants too, because,
100%.
So I was thinking if we could get some of the documentation before the weekend of the meeting, and then the resolutions no later than close the business on Monday before the meeting. And I know that's late, and I know like what you propose is better for the board members, but I think an occasional late submissions, okay, because we do want to help the town grow, so.
Yeah.
But today was ridiculous. I mean, today I didn't want to show because it's getting too bad. And I mean, we do want to keep our professionality here, and it's hard to know everything about the documentation when we get it last minute. So that's my thoughts. I understand we want to help out, but today was way too late.
Yep, agreed. And I've already had conversations with David and Gabby, and and Warren, and we should have this straightened out for next month.
Yeah, but we don't want to push it so far in advance, then the applicants are going to miss the monthly meeting. So that's a toss up. I mean, I guess that's my concern. I'm just as concerned with that too. I don't want to make it so tough for the applicants that they're going to lose a month, so I don't know. I leave it up to your judgment, that's all. That's all.
Technically, there's a 2-week submission deadline. So 2 weeks prior to the meeting in our code is the last day to submit. On a couple of occasions, I have taken things a couple days late, but not day before, unless I thought it was something I could just send out. And this past week, I just had a medical emergency that came up that kind of held me up on sending everything out. So I do apologize to everybody for the delay.
That's understandable.
And Gabby, you're always amazing. So it's just that I just feel like we need at least 5 days. Like 5 days notice for something would be great. I don't want to have to worry about turning somebody down because I didn't get to, review the information.
Yeah,
And at
me
the
and Warren
same
agreed.
time-
I'm going to send it out a week before. Everything I have in hand is getting sent out the week prior, probably Monday or Tuesday.
And if anyone comes in late, then I'm sorry, it's their problem if we didn't get a chance to review it. I mean, I hate to say that, but if it's at the 11th hour, they knew when the meeting was. It's just, I don't know. That's
No,
just my opinion.
It can be accomplished because both Five Guys in Burlington turned around with color renderings, site plans, and all the supporting documentation in 6 days. So they had everything, they knew the beginning of in January, second week in January, they had 10 days. They got us everything so they could be on this meeting. So it is achievable.
Right.
So I think we all agree that, we want to be professional. We want to assist the townsfolk, but we need some time and we need structure. And I think what we've worked out with the workshop and resolutions from David, I think that's fine, because I think that we will have things come from the workshop that are, ready to be heard at the next meeting, and the 2-week cutoff then would not permit them to be in the meeting if we held to that 2-week cutoff. But we need to make sure that everything is to the board, by the Thursday after the
Workshop. Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, have we
Yes,
still
sir.
got a couple people that aren't members of the town board in the screen that are showing up? John Stoll, by the way, for those that don't know, is the new appointed planning board meeting member due to Dan Furman leaving the area. Welcome, John.
Thank you.
The other tight schedule we have is dealing with.
Thank you, Chairman.
We have the county reviews on a Tuesday night. And then it's very tough to get anything out of them until Friday. I'd like to be able to see if there's a way, even by squeezing them a little bit, we were able to get the reports on Friday evening. And that left a whole weekend of dead time where nobody could see anything unless they were working from home. So there's got to be a little bit better movement. I'll try and do my best with the county planning board to see if I can push them a little bit to put our reviews on the top of the heap of getting those done.
I know I have worked with Marianne and Robert, and they have worked well with me to try to push mine out, but it usually isn't until day before or day of.
Yeah, they have a lot to do, but I don't know how the other towns' schedules are, but I think it's probably one of the closest in from the time the county meets.
Yep. All right. We will do a better job in March.
Absolutely. We got this.
I hope we adjourn.
I'll second
I
that.
second that.
All in
right, Jeff,
favor?
just so you know, I like to either make that motion or second it. So just so you know for the future.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we'll see you next month and
Okay.
appreciate it.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Gabby, I hope everything's better.